I'm going to show you how to break Ableton, demonstrate with these stock snares. Do Command or Control G, put something into a rack. This little chain, a button here will show you this chain interface where you have a 0 to 127 range. So you can choose what sample or whatever rack plays depending on what value you have it set to. So you can like drag this little slider here to choose which sample you want it to play. You can actually map this to a macro. You can actually do this with up to 127 samples. I just dragged all of these snare samples into this chain window. See, we have 470, so we got to narrow that down. So just press Command or Control A, right click, and then distribute ranges equally. And the first 127 or 128 will be distributed equally, and then the rest after, say this one right here, we can just get rid of. Press this arrow button. We can drag this knob and then see which snare is playing. With samples at least, this is not very CPU intensive. It's enough where you can pick a sample and then once you find one you like, you can copy and replace it. If you save these racks you make, you can drag them into a drum rack. I actually already made one. You can map every one of these racks to the drum rack macros. So right now this is our drum kit, and if we press the random button at the top of the rack, we have basically a different drum kit. Now I just made this with the stock Ableton samples, so it's probably ideal if you pick your favorite samples and put them in each of these groups. Not only can you do this with samples, you can do this with audio effects. So I took all of the presets on all of the audio effects, made a rack for each of them, so you can choose, say, like for chorus. You can randomize which chorus preset you want to use. Once you find the one you like, you can just drag it out and delete. I've made racks where you can pick any preset of any effect in Ableton, and I've made one for standard and one for sweet. So if you don't have sweet, and I thought maybe one isn't enough, so I made one that's 3 of them. You can basically choose any combination. I'm just gonna have these arrows show which effect is playing. So we press this random button and it's generated a rack for us. Sadly, these don't save with the arrow selected. If you wanted to see which preset was playing and drag these out of the rack to save CPU, so this is a CPU intensive process. So on my Gumroad, you can buy all of these racks in one pack, including MIDI racks. You can randomly select ARP or chord, bouncing notes, no echo, all of the effect presets too. I also included this one like starter kit rack for making your own random synth. Say you didn't want hybrid reverb in this chain, you can just delete it, redistribute it. Just go to the chain, select them all, drag the bottom from right to left, and then drag the top from left to right. Then redistribute them equally. And if you like the preset you're hearing, turn off the random generators or delete them. Drag out. And then after you drag out all the presets, you can just save this rack as an instrument. In the pack, I've included standard and sweet versions, so if you don't have sweet, you can still use like a similar rack with all the standard plugins, and that drum selector is also included in there. Also, I've made reverb pickers and EQ pickers, distortion pickers. Go buy it and let me know what you think of it.